It's like one of those things like, is that the alien spaceship on top of the microphone?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, it
We do aliens. Well, welcome.
is. We
And
do
we
aliens.
do aliens.
Oh, yes. If you go far enough back, you will see we have done aliens.
We have done
In
aliens.
fact, that was the first sticker we made for our podcast was an alien. We have definitely started because we started talking about aliens, and that always means that we are talking.
We are
So-
talking.
Catherine, could you introduce our guest?
Our delightful guest this morning is Andrew Richwine, who I met while I was pulling weeds in front of my house, and he was showing a house across the street, and we had a delightful conversation. And of course, I had to ask him to be on the podcast, and I'm so grateful that you said yes, and I think it's just going to be a blast. So welcome to SubRant. Good morning.
Thank you guys for having me. And here goes to the coffee.
Yeah, coffee.
Oh yeah, to the coffee. I made a double dose. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So Andrew is a realtor, and also he has some involvement with the light rail and some art related to the light rail. At least that's what I've been informed on. I wasn't
Yes.
weeding my house, so I wasn't partaken of any of this.
Yeah, so I'm actually a realtor here at Keller Williams East Valley, the tribe. I'm part of a rather large team over here. We're awesome sauce. One of my main things that I like to do outside of work is help out the community.
Mhm.
Well, before I transitioned into real estate, I actually have a really heavy background in infrastructure work. So I can't say I've built, but I've helped build pretty much all your major freeways here in the Phoenix area since I was 16. My first one was SR 51. It was at Dreamy Draw Park going all the
Mhm.
way up around the 51 to tie in to Bell. The 101 wasn't even there yet.
Right.
So that was my first one. And throughout the years, of course, I was a laborer, and then I went to operators, and then, started moving up. And I eventually became a realtor because I learned that, there's only so much ground here. So you can't do much with it if you're just always tearing it up. So kind of transitioned into real estate, started having fun. And it was kind of like a blessing to be able to mix both backgrounds and both goals and visions into being able to help my community, which is South Phoenix, and being able to use my expertise from 20 years worth of doing this work. I was also an instructor for some of this stuff. So I got to teach the operators that are actually building it. It's kind of cool when you go back on a job site and you get to see some of the guys that you actually had in class, and they're going, "Hey, what are you doing out here?" Like, "Came to watch you, dude." Like, you know what I mean? "What are you doing today?" Like, "Yeah,
Wow.
well, we're digging this or we're putting in that." And it's kind of nice to go back and go visit and actually be part of a more purposeful, bigger thing in life. And then this is a major transit connector.
Mhm.
You're not going to see many train projects come in and out of town. You know what I mean? Like they're pretty much connecting everything that they're connecting now. And then there's going to be, probably some wait until whenever they figure out whatever area needs it next. You know what I mean?
Well, I think as far as trains go, I think that Phoenix is ripe for some more actual train development, since we do have not a depot, but a station downtown that's been closed for how many years? How many decades?
Oh yeah, and right now, Valley Metro has 96 trains,
Mhm.
96 total. So the weekend of the Super Bowl, they were all running.
Yeah, I can
Like
imagine.
I was
wow.
talking, I'm a data nerd and stuff like that when it comes to this stuff. So I was asking one of the ladies in one of our light rail meetings. I was like, "So for Super Bowl, what were you guys plan?" This was during the planning stages for Valley Metro, like to clear, because they were talking about, okay, we're expecting like over 1 million people downtown because that's where the NFL experience is, right?
Mhm.
So how do you get that amount of people out of downtown in a safe manner and in a timely manner?
Mhm.
So they were like, "Huh, you're gonna love this one, dude." I was like, "What?" She goes, "We're hooking 3 trains up." I said, "What do you mean 3 trains up?" She goes, "Well, you know how we have the single trains that run in between of the doubles, right? So that they have
Yeah, so let's hold on a second there. The light rail usually, what does it usually run? 2 trains at a time, or 2 cars?
2 cars at a time.
2 cars at a time. So that's the normal one. Do they do one as well?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Oh, I
one
didn't know
as
that.
Well, they do one as well when it's heavier hours for people that are riding, kind of like the buses have a regular bus and then they have the express.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's the same theory there. So But most of the times, yeah, they do have the double trains. This time they decided to hook 2 trains up together in order to give them that longer span. I said, well, how many people can you guys actually like move? And
Right.
she's like, we could take 1,500 people on every 3 minutes, and we're going to be running them at 7-minute, 9-minute intervals, just depending on the amount of people at the location.
Wow.
I think
I was
those are
like,
really important numbers for people to see because it really exposes the power of the light rail.
oh yeah, it's this thing can move, and it's on green energy.
Mhm.
It's actually it's a good thing. It's what the buses aren't. It's
Yeah.
Right.
basically
Well,
Exactly.
it's another major transportation form of transportation to get you to major spots where there's populate. You know what I mean? Where everybody's going. I
Hmm.
mean, look at Cityscape.
oh yeah,
City.
you
Hmm.
don't have to sell me. I grew up in New York, outside of New York City, so I grew up with mass transit, with trains, both the subways and the Amtrak trains for commuters to get
Mhm.
into the city. And I've never understood the reluctance to cities to build these infrastructures. There's always like, well, it's going to drive down property value and all this other stuff. No, it does the exact opposite. People flock to the transit stops, and your values go up.
Hmm.
They had actually ran on their app. They had a Valley Metro app just specifically for the Super Bowl. They were doing one passes. Like, because if you go to the terminals or whatever, and you have to put in your card, you have to do this, you have to do that, and then you get your tickets, right? Well,
Hmm.
what happens if there was no tickets left because the ticket roll decided, it was out for the day or
Right.
whatever?
Oh,
So they were
right.
actually doing this app. It was called One Pass. It was the Valley Metro One Pass app. So what you could do is go on your phone, get a ticket one way or for one day. It would automatically connect to your phone, hit the button, boom, it downloads the tickets. You were good for the whole day. Especially, it was awesome for people that were from out of town, because if you're staying in one of the local hotels, or you're staying all the way in Tempe, but you wanted to come to the NFL experience, or you were over there at the stadium or by
Mhm.
Metro, all the major hubs around the area that, people tended to flock to during the Super Bowl, you could use the train to get downtown and back in the same day, and all do it from your phone and not have to worry about going, where is this at? Where is that at? Where's
Right.
Well,
this at?
you don't have to worry about renting a car or where you're going to park or having to try to get around a weird city. I think that's a really interesting perspective, though, having built the highways and having a really good sense of how Phoenix is laid out. It seems like it gives you a big advantage for a realtor. I came here in 2011 as a transplant, coming from the Northeast, and I didn't really know that much about the city. Thankfully, my brother-in-law was been lives out here, and he knew the city pretty well, and our realtor knew the city really well. But that just seems like another level of just knowing in your bones, because you actually
Mhm.
laid the roads work. And I'm a cyclist, and I bicycle over Phoenix, and it doesn't look like it from the surface. But Phoenix is actually pretty easy to get around on a bicycle too, as long as you know where you're going and how to get there. There are some spots that might be hard to get to, especially actually South Phoenix is the place that's really the hardest place to get to from like downtown.
And it's funny too, because if you look at the plans itself, it says pedestrian trails.
Mm-hmm.
So they're hooking everything together too, just so that you can be active within the city without having, because not every neighborhood has mountain trails. Let's just be honest. You know what I mean?
Right.
Most don't. Yeah, most
And
really
I
don't.
I totally understand what you're saying too about having to go from downtown to South Phoenix. Of course, you're dealing with all the downtown traffic. You're dealing with, 7th Avenue and 7th Street only can withstand so much, because right now Central's what, one way
Oh
each
my
way.
gosh. And it's
So
been that
Right.
way forever. I mean, it's been years since Central has been under construction.
it was actually cool because they had to raise the I-17 bridge 3.5 feet just to fit the train under.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh.
this whole thing is getting like widened out. It's going to be a great thing to see when it's finished.
Just in terms of the light rail expansion, like, are there two different projects going on, like one in South Phoenix and then one going north?
So there's actually 3 of them that
Okay.
are going right now. So we have downtown to University, because of course you have the Salt River
Hmm.
river right there. And then you have the South Central corridor, which basically takes over right there at Salt River all the way to Baseline. And then you
Okay.
have the Northwest 3, which is up there by you guys, that's
Right.
going Metro Center.
Well,
So
her
I
guys,
actually get
I'm
to,
downtown.
He's
oh, you're
downtown.
downtown?
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, okay. Like I get to visit all of them, so it's kind of cool. I like the idea of what they're what their plans are with Metro Center. Think about it. You have this big, huge possible metropolis
Right.
sitting vacant, you know what I mean, for a couple of years. Because I can remember going there and shopping for Christmas time. I don't know about you guys,
Oh
but
yeah.
I mean, there in Christown, it was Montgomery Wards at Christown, and then there was, I believe it was this, no, it was the Sears and everything at Metro, and
Mm-hmm.
you had all the shops outside, like the original Best Buy was outside of Metro, if you guys remember.
Right.
You know what I mean? And Fry's
Yeah.
Electronics wasn't that far
Oh yeah,
away, and
poor fries.
there was just some awesome places. And I can remember there was an ice skating rink in the bottom of that thing, and then
There
it turned,
was.
Oh, that's
turned
insane.
into an arcade, and then from the arcade it turned into the movies, and then
Right.
all of a sudden there was, you had to go in a whole separate door because there was all of a sudden a floor, and now there's a food court. Like, I was like,
Yeah, the food.
okay.
Yeah, watching it more. If I remember when Metro Center opened, that's how long I was very young, and we had moved here, and Metro Center opened. I remember going with my friend Nancy and just staring over at that ice skating rink and thinking, "Oh, this is so cool." And I could never ice skate. I'm just horrible with anything under my feet other than soles of flat shoes. And I did try to ice skate many times there and fell on my butt. And then to watch it more, if you're right, it just did that whole thing with the arcade, and I was really sad when they took out the ice rink because it was fun to stand up there and watch people skate, and the cold air would come up, particularly in the summer, and the last time I went in that mall, it was just heartbreaking. There was literally, it just smelled like mold. I went to get some mannequin hands. Um, I know, James, I have this fetish for mannequins,
Yeah,
but
well,
I
Andrew,
used
did you see the Andrew's look on his face? He's like, "What is she talking about?"
I
Crazy
know.
lady.
No, but there was they were selling out everything, and the mall was closed, and like to go up the stairs to the second level, they were blocked off, and some of the stairs were all cracked, and it was just awful, and it just smelled like mold. And you can see mold like encroaching on the ceiling. And I went into the store, and I'm like, I got to get out of here. It was so freaking. I got in my car, and I actually cried because it was it's like, oh, how the mighty have fallen. It was such a beautiful place. And then to have it just disintegrate. So I'm looking forward to the resurrection
So
of that space.
it is a phoenix. It will,
Hmm.
it went all the way down, and now it will be resurrected from the ashes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was looking online. They said it's going to be the first two-story, a train station or something,
Yes.
an elevated station or something.
You guys have both been to the airport and seen the SkyTrain, right?
Right.
That's the one that starts off over there at, what is it, 24th Street, kind of whirls its way in through the parking lots and everything else, and then it goes
Mm-hmm.
to the terminals and then
Hmm.
back out the other side to 48th Street. So basically, it's going to be something like that.
Oh, wow.
This way, commuters and all can get all the way to downtown, can get to ASU if they really have to. They can get all the way to Mesa
Hmm.
on the train, and then that would be the last stop heading to the northwest for right now.
Yeah, I don't think people really understand how many different ways there are to get around Phoenix. Obviously, it looks like a car city to begin with, and it is fundamentally.
Hmm.
But the light rail and the other systems we have, and cycling around, it's amazing how far you can get. I can ride from my house in downtown very easily down to Tempe Town Lake, and right across the river is ASU essentially, and there's a train depot right there as well, where the train and the light rail come together, and there's a bike shop there too. So you can, and in fact, that bike shop, I can't remember the name of it now off the top of my head, but that bike shop that's down in Tempe is set up for commuters. So you can ride your bike there, you can store it there, you can take a shower, and then you can walk to your job.
Oh wow,
Oh, wow.
that's kind of a cool service to have.
That
That's
Yeah,
is.
that's some thinking outside of the box right there.
and it's right at the depot. I think there's another one up on Central by Central Library, but I don't know that one as well.
Hmm. By
Wow.
Hens Park, huh?
Yeah, by Hans Park, right? So, as a realtor, I've got a couple questions for you, Andrew, that I'm curious
Right.
about.
All right, all right. I knew
First
we
of
were going to
all,
get into this sooner or later. Let's go. Let's go.
so I'm in the Coronado area. So,
Oh, you're in one of my
it's
favorite districts.
there
Okay,
you
all
go.
right. Woo.
I consider this downtown-ish. When I say I'm in Coronado, everybody says, "Oh, you're downtown." It doesn't really feel like downtown to me because I'm from New York, so it feels a lot more residential than that. But anyway, I've seen a lot of flips, people coming in flipping houses here in Coronado, and I go in and I look at the houses, and it's really just generally very badly done. Or one time I went in and they had put down vinyl flooring on top of the old wood flooring without having done it. I could feel under my feet that there were voids underneath the linoleum.
Oh my God.
So that was pretty bad. But I was wondering what the worst thing you've seen when you've seen a flipped house or a renovation.
Well, it's funny that you're talking about this
Okay.
because when Catherine was on the phone with us the other day, my partner actually, she has like over 30 years in the real estate business, and we do stuff with our team that's a little bit outside of the box, stuff like that. So, a couple weeks ago, we were actually on a field trip. Basically, we call it a tribe takeover. We go and we visit like a bunch of homes from different eras, kind of get a different feel because, of course, here in the Phoenix area you have some really old houses, especially in the downtown. One of my favorite districts is actually Alvarado, and that's just north of you. And I love it. And it's just what is it, 4 or 5 blocks? And then you get into Ashland, and I like Ashland too. Ashland actually has some really, really old houses. You're talking like 1920s, 1929, stuff like that. We were out and about here in the Tempe area 2 weeks ago, and we actually seen what was considered a flip that was no. It was not everything that it said it was not. And it was to the point where everything was unmatching. When I say everything was unmatching, like brand new stove, but they left the range hood from 1964, you know what I mean? But that's not the half of it. We looked underneath the range hood because we were like, hold on here. Why would you put this beautiful brand new stainless steel 6-burner stove with the griddle, all of this, here, and you're just going to leave the range hood, right? Like, why not get one of the stainless steel range hood, stuff like that? And we looked underneath the bottom of it, and it had probably about a half inch worth of life growing underneath the bottom of
hell no.
So that was one. The same house actually said that it had an Airbnb opportunity in the backyard. Went in the back. You remember this, Catherine?
Yeah, I do.
We went in the backyard and we were trying to figure this out. I was like, where is this Airbnb opportunity at? Like, there was even like you could charge this much a night for this place. You know what I mean? And we're looking at it and we're like, it's a freaking steel shed and a tough shed. Like, no, 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 no. Like, yeah, I totally get what you're saying about some of the flips, and it all depends on who's doing them.
Yeah, it's
Seriously.
just the majority of the ones I've seen have been very poor. And my poor neighbor, I have a neighbor across the street. The guy was doing the flip for about a year, and it was she's been trying to fix that house for the past 5 years. He literally, the guy who was flipping it, put another bathroom in, and he put the new pipe work in the dirt, just in the dirt. So it completely failed. And she was living in a trailer behind her house for, I think, 3 or 4 months because she had basically no plumbing while they were trying to repair all the damage that the flipper had done.
Oh, my God.
They had to completely dig up all of her plumbing and well, I don't want to get into
Oh, my
that.
God.
We hear stuff like that from time to time too. And if you guys go see one of these brand new beautiful remodels, you can tell the guys that have the skills and the guys that don't.
Yeah, but you need an eye for it. It's really easy for someone who doesn't know what to look for to get in there and be dazzled by the brand new stove and not realize that the hood is disgusting and like a biological hazard.
Right. Or you have your bathroom renovated and it looks fantastic, and then the grout falls out, and you see that everything is has lippage, and the tiles look so undulating that it makes you dizzy. I don't know. Never mind that.
That's great. That's great. I've never really heard of getting your bathroom redone and then the grout falling out from in between the tiles. That's kind of an interesting situation right there.
It's a special kind of grout.
It's
a special kind of irritation. But enough about me.
So moving from worst flip, let's go to the worst client. I would like his name and number and address. But anyway, no, is there like a story you have about your worst client?
No, actually, there's not. I've been fortunate enough not to have one of those, knock on wood. I try and help out as much as I can and educate as much as I can. This way, stuff like that doesn't happen. I mean, honestly, you have to set that expectation of what this is going to look like, or you're going to end up with a client that's dissatisfied, and then that's usually where you come across a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
have
so
to be able
it
to
sounds like
educate.
you educate them and you work with them to the point where there are no hidden surprises. And you've been
Exactly.
lucky that you haven't had any real, let's call them people, to deal with. You know,
Well, here at
there are the people out there that are difficult to deal with.
here at KWEV, we're one of the number one training Keller Williams here in the state of Arizona. And so, we kind of have it down when it comes to that stuff and how to set expectations, how to go over if your client's going to purchase or if they're going to list, what that looks like. Make sure to get in a few times with them, have some conversations because, sometimes expectations or timelines or what they're thinking can change during the week. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Something new happened, something came up in life. Life happens.
Hmm.
You just have to be real with people and set the expectation, let them know what's going on in the market, let them know what's available,
Right.
and make sure that you put all your cards out on the table at the same time because in reality, you're representing them through one of the biggest transactions that they're doing in their life. And that's the most important part is helping them out at that time of need.
Andrew,
Or if
it
they're
sounds
trying
like
to,
the reason you don't get bad clients is because you know how to work with people. That's what I'm sensing. It's like
Yeah,
you sound
sounds
like
really great.
a person who is well suited for this task. I'm a little bit too confrontational, so things probably wouldn't go as well for me. I
No,
would
I
I
like
would
getting
I
into
make bad clients.
you make.
I like getting into discussions and strategizing and how are we going to do this? How are we going to make this happen?
Hmm.
Because it's one of those things where not every client is ready when they think they're ready either. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like there might be something in the background that's holding them back. There might be a credit issue. There might be, well, we need to save up a few more months, but that person right there is still needing your help to get to the end goal. So a lot of
Yeah,
Hmm.
people seem to think that the deal needs to be here and now. No, this is a relationship business. It's about being yourself and being genuine within the community, showing your value to people, educating them because everybody can read everything that's in the big media and what's in the newspaper, but that
Hmm.
might not be true in your local markets.
Right.
You know what I mean? Education is the key points, and it's honestly it's great to be over here at Keller because you learn it all. I mean, you can walk into any of these offices and go, "Hey, I have a question about this."
well, that's the
Okay,
Hmm.
key is that you have a holistic view of the entire landscape, not just the buildings, but the financing and the markets and
Hmm.
things like that. And that again is I think what helps to make sure you don't wind up with a bad client.
Right. Right.
You don't create. I'm sorry, you don't create a bad
You don't
client.
create
no,
it.
yeah, don't create the bad
Yeah.
opportunity, right?
Right, right. I do have a question about like preparing for listing. Like, how do you help people prepare for the listings? Are there things like, particularly in the Phoenix market, that homeowners should update or change or remove from their properties in order to prep it for the best experience?
Well, that all depends on your property itself, on
Okay.
your home. One of the main things is let's go do a walk of your property, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a walk around it. Let's look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest things that we run across with people that are listing homes
Mm-hmm.
is they're attached to the home. It's
Right.
been their home. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they've lived there, they've raised kids there, they've done, family get-togethers. They have memories built into these to the properties, you know what I mean? And one of the first things when we go to list a home is we actually have a checklist and it starts going from A to Z, what needs to be done. If there's vendors that are needed, please give us a call. We can help
Mm-hmm.
you out. If you're not able to get to the weeds in the front yard before picture day,
Mm-hmm.
that's one. If your house needs a little bit of touch up paint, do we need to help you out with a cleaning lady before pictures or after? Or it all depends on the needs of the property
I
owner
see. Okay.
and the needs of the house itself because we always want to get it up to market value. This way our clients get the most that they've put into the home. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? There's equity built into them now.
Right.
So let's get you the most that we can for the house.
What I'm hearing here is that your basic advice to people who want to put their house on the market is invite Andrew over to do a walkthrough and tell you all the problems.
Oh yeah.
Or
Yeah,
not problems, but
exactly.
opportunities.
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 It's
Shoot.
important to have someone with a professional perspective come
Mm-hmm.
through who has all the knowledge so that they can see things that we don't see. and you're that guy.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you. There's no such thing as the perfect house, right? And there's always going to be issues, no matter
Mhm.
what. That's the joys of being a homeowner. But is there protections that you can get, like better, home warranties that cover stuff?
Mhm.
Yes. Is there stuff like, if you fix it up before you go to list it, will it get you more money? Possibly, yes. It just depends on the situation and what you're looking at.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny. Just a quick side note. My parents had a place up in the outskirts of New York. It's actually the suburbs of New York, and it was a brownstone, so it was 3 floors, and they had an elevator. It was pretty common there to have that, and it broke
Oh, wow.
repeatedly. And it was an old elevator. It had been, I think it was installed in the 80s, and they couldn't really find replacement parts for it. So the decision was, or the option was, either repair it, which was basically going to replace the whole unit, or just take $50,000 off the top price of the house. And they took the latter, and they sold it. You have to get an expert in there to evaluate those kinds of things. I'm curious though. You're talking about photography. Do you have professional photographers come in and shoot up, or are you good enough with a camera to shoot the pictures?
Oh no, I'm not one of those realtors that will take the pictures on from my iPhone and post them to the MLS. That's not us. We do use professional
Mm-hmm.
photography, drone
Okay.
footage, all of that stuff. Because if you're a realtor and you're out there and you're just taking the pictures off your iPhone and then posting them, really that's not really doing your client a very good service at that
No,
point.
it's
You know
really
what I mean?
not.
I don't need to see the light switch on the wall and low
Yeah.
filters or anything like that. Like we want to make sure that it's professional pictures. Your home's marketed the correct way.
Right, I'm also
all
a
that good
photographer,
stuff.
so I see that it drives me crazy when I see really bad photography of listings. They'll take a picture of the room and you'll see one wall, another wall, and the floor. It's a corner basically. You might as well be taking a picture of the inside of a box. It
Hmm.
shows you nothing of the home whatsoever. But I will say that if you're a trained photographer, you know what to look for. So a trained photographer could actually use an iPhone and get pretty good shots. It's the eye, it's the professional eye to know what you're looking for.
I know a lot on when we order pictures. We actually order two sets. One we order for a daytime. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
go
Mhm.
get the angles. So you're not getting any shadows, any of that stuff. And then we always ask, hey, can you go back at dusk?
Hmm.
Can you get us
Yeah.
one of the sunset pictures? Can you get us one of the kind of evening pictures or later in the afternoon pictures? Because honestly, if you look at it, the best pictures of your home is what really drags people to say, oh, you know what? I want to go take a look at that.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the
Mhm.
worst pictures up on the internet, it's sitting. If you got somebody
Yeah.
that has a good eye, can makes it look good, can get the angles, does not like show that he's there in all the pictures and everything else, because
Or there's
I
a thumb covering the
Yeah,
lens.
oh yeah. And we see it all the time. It's like if you can do that, like okay, we can work here because now we have clear pictures. Now we have stuff that when it is out there on the internet, it does look really good. It does attract the attention.
Mhm.
In 9 times out of 10, it helps sell your home faster.
Yeah, the night
True.
shots are really dramatic. It can really help make the house look a lot like it's from a movie or something. And that requires, again, it requires the professional eye to know how to light it properly. Because if you go take a picture of your house at night, you may just get a black blob. But if you light it properly, or if you use the correct exposure settings, you'll see everything and it'll look beautiful.
And working with especially with some of our clients that have different availabilities, like they had to leave because they're relocating for a new job or whatever.
Mhm.
Sometimes with the houses, it's better to have one of our professionals come in also with us and like, can we get a staging quote for this,
Mhm.
because we want the color schemes to match. We want a little bit of couches, because people do visualize like, how does that house gonna fit with what I have here
Mhm.
at this house? Are we getting rid of this stuff and just getting all brand new? Is the colors going to match? Is the floor plan, is it good for us? Is it open? How much renovation are we going to have to do? Because, some people buy the home because it's in the area, because of course you all guys always hear location,
Mhm.
location, location.
Right.
Next thing you know, they find a good deal in an area and okay, can we take this wall out because we know it's not load bearing and blow out the kitchen and open this whole space up and maybe put in like a kitchen island or something? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So there's tons of ideas that go back and forth during this. And it's just awesome to see end products where you're going, dude, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, but that staging can be so important. Going back to that picture I described, we used to see 2 walls and a floor. It tells you nothing about the scale of the room. If you put a chair or a couch or a bed in there, suddenly you know the scale of the room.
Exactly. You can get a pretty good visual of what it is. I mean, some of the technology now, they have the virtual stagers out. That's like
Oh, yeah.
No.
one of these new tech themes. And it's like, okay, it just shows different pieces in place, but it doesn't look correct. If you get somebody who's actually a staging company that goes in there now, all of a sudden there's live furniture. In the pictures, it looks a lot better because, you're matching. You have somebody that did design it. Even if it is just a few pieces throughout the house, you know what I mean?
And then you avoid the pictures of the guy in the mirror when they're taking the bathroom pictures. I just love those. Like, do you ever see those? You just see the guy in the mirror
holding the phone, taking
Holding
a
the
picture
phone,
of the bathroom.
taking a
And
picture.
yeah.
It's like, I love it.
So 2 weekends ago, we did a tribe takeover on a Saturday over down at one of the local builders, brand new subdivisions. And I was the guy that was running the iPhone on the gimbal and everything, running through the house. This way we could get the different floor plans. Because, of course, the floor plans that they were offering at this subdivision were totally different than what they were offering at the other ones. Like the other ones, they were only offering like 35 and 40 foot across. These ones had the bigger models, 45, 50 across, you know what I mean? So we were seeing the bigger floor plans, like the 5-bedroom, 3-bath, single story, stuff like that. And I'm running around with the gimbal. And I'm just going through all the floor plans. Like, come on. I got to get there, and listen to what the rep was talking about stuff. And I would go to edit the video and I'm right there at the end of the video, like that in the window. Like, okay, I put my print on it. You know what I mean? I put my paw on it. We're good there. I'm not the best video guy, but I can deal with one at the end of the video. Like, hey, have a good, see you guys later.
Well, if you do it intentionally,
that's cool.
Yeah,
though.
but that's intentional, right? You do that intentionally rather than just by accidentally having yourself in the picture. Which I guess it would be good to have vampires do this because they could take pictures of all the mirrors and not be in the picture.
Find me one that's a cameraman. No.
Yeah.
Well, of course, they could only work at night, so you get the night shots.
Yeah, you get good nice shots.
Sundown, dusk.
See, Adam, this is my constant reminder on this podcast. I am full of ideas. They're not necessarily good ideas, but they are ideas.
Anyway, do you have anything you want to ask us?
So how long have you guys been honestly doing the podcast?
2 years this month, James.
Is it 2 years now?
It was 2 years, yeah. Because last year we missed our anniversary show. We were still waiting to do it. Now it's It was March, wasn't it?
Wait, if it was 2 years, shouldn't we have 100 shows instead of only 76?
Well, there were times we just woke up late or
I don't wake up
migraines.
Late. Oh yeah.
Or I just spaced it.
We haven't been exactly once a week. We haven't quite hit our goal.
So what's your guys' goal?
No, it was supposed to be once a week.
Once a week?
Yeah. So there, the past 2 years, instead of 104 weeks, there have only been 76. It's a special 2-year period.
Well, at least you guys are what, 24 closer to the 100 goal?
Getting there.
I mean, because don't they say for podcasts, most of the time they get in traction after, what is it, like 50, 75, something like that? Like most of the time you see these guys and they're doing podcasts and they're like, oh, this isn't going to take traction. This is episode number 5. Like, you know
Andrew,
what I mean? Like you're not going to get out on your platforms on, episode 5, but
it's the next one. It's always the next one.
It's always the next one.
The consistency of it, and having that much in the library and people being able to go back and go search, because that's what people want. They want, because I watch podcasts too. Like I like a lot of the business podcasts, and I like some of the sports podcasts. Oh man, some of those guys when they start roasting like on after Sunday football and the Suns games and stuff like that. Like it's actually really cool to like just kind of watch and listen into. You know what I mean?
Our strategy is to trick our listeners. And the trick is we're going to have such a large library. We're going to have hundreds of podcasts, and people are going to see that. Wow, these guys must be really serious. Nope, that's wrong. We're not. We're just persistent.
We're just persistent. Yeah,
it's a long con. It's a long con. You're being punked.
Yeah, who was it? Like one of our former guests, Grace, said, she goes, I started listening to your podcast. And she's like, a couple hours went by.
Yeah,
And she goes, and I realized that, because we don't have any bumper music or any like click on
that's
that, we don't do anything. We just start talking. And she goes, I just felt like my life could just go on and you guys would be talking in the background the whole time. And she said she was doing her housework and it was podcast after podcast after podcast. We just kept talking in the background. It was so funny to hear that because I think that is how we
well,
trick our
yeah. Well,
listeners.
I'm such a minimalist that I didn't want
Mhm.
it. I don't like listening to 30 seconds of some intro music every time I want to listen to a podcast. I just want to hear the people talk. I don't want to hear the same song every time.
Hmm.
So that's how we do it. We just start talking and then we stop talking.
Mhm.
But I didn't realize that people have autoplay on, and they don't realize when one episode ends and another one begins. It's like,
That's
oh, that
that's that's
okay.
where that catalog starts coming into play because it's
Yeah,
on loop.
It
it
just
is.
well,
It
yeah. I don't
is.
know if it's on loop, but it's on autoplay. Now, if it's
It's
on
on
loop, they're in
autoplay.
real trouble. They're in real trouble then.
We're gonna go
Yeah,
through all the episodes and then we're gonna go all the way back around
Exactly.
again.
all the way back. All the
It
way back.
never
And
ends.
James does all the show art, and I think it's just amazing.
Well,
And we
the AI
started,
does. The AI
yeah, well
does all the show
now
art
now
now.
you morphed to that. He was actually doing I did a one piece, didn't I? No, I did
Yes, you
two.
did. I did do
Yeah, I
too.
did two. Yeah, I did two. Yeah, I remember the one Watch Pray and Your Cat.
Right. I remember that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, that was
Anyway.
just and then the Basquiat knockoff.
Oh yes, I
But
forgot. That was the good one.
yeah, yeah, that was the only good one I did. But James, like we started talking about like AI a lot, and then James just started using what Mid Journey and
Yeah, mostly.
yeah, mostly they're amazing images. I just think I can't believe what you do with that because I tried and I don't get any of it.
Well, you have to
But
be willing to be led by the software.
mm,
Like if you're
With
just
the
trying,
AI.
yeah. It
hmm
was the AI isn't really good at understanding what you're saying, but if you're willing to give it some latitude and just kind of follow its lead, and take the cues from it, you get a lot better results. It's good at doing certain things, and you start to learn it. You start to learn what it's good at doing.
Oh, definitely, especially with the amount of technology out there.
hmm
Like they definitely have stuff that, you ask it for something, it will create it.
It will try,
It will
it will
try.
try.
It might not do it to the exact thing that you have in your head, but it will definitely give a baseline
and it will create something.
and it will create something. So it is learning.
Well, I don't know if it's learning, but it is creating something.
Oh yeah.
I have thoughts on that, but we don't have to.
That's
I'm
another
curious.
episode.
I'm curious. So you do some responsible for some of the managing the artwork that shows up at the light rail stations?
So I was actually part of the arts committee for the light rail from downtown to South Central.
Okay.
So we got to see a bunch of local artists that had come through and put in what they call IOPs.
hmm
So
What is an
basically,
IOP?
an IOP is basically it's a plan. This was for the grants program, right, through Valley Metro.
Okay.
So it was different organizations that had put in action plans, basically, like, okay, we're going to start on February and it'll be ending in May. And this is the planning phase. This is which artist or which community group is going to help out. This is what the expectation is. This is where you guys can approve it. It's a whole 5-step, 6-step. There was even one that we saw that was very informative. And I like the way that they broke it down, but it was actually a 12-step plan. And
Hmm.
then because they were applying for arts grants through the light rail, that Valley Metro had specifically for local artists and to put the money back into the community. So it was kind of cool to see like some of the ideas, and some of the ideas work with it and some of the ideas are in left field, but they're awesome ideas, but it doesn't work with the project. Like it would work
Right.
with something totally different,
hmm
but being part of mass transit and green energy, stuff like that, because that's what it is.
Right.
So they were wanting to do something else, like some form of stay in place art, like a mural. But the
hmm
mural didn't have anything to do with what the project was, like they didn't understand the assignment. You know what I
hmm
mean? Like when they posted the grants program, underneath the grants program, it had like everything for the program. Like, look, it needs to be A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Please, whether it's performing arts, mural arts, projects, community interaction, just stuff like that, that if it's any of these, it still needs to be in this order and have something to deal with the light rail, something to deal with transit, something to
Got it.
deal with, clean energy, or what the parameters were. So it was kind of cool to see some of the projects that were actually available.
Mhm.
I know that a lot of the what they call transfer houses, that's where it's a substation along the route that actually powers and has people in there 24/7 to monitor
Oh,
tracks, stuff like that. But a lot of those places, they get artwork all the way around the building just to showcase
oh,
local individuals. There was like the availability for a lot of the nonprofits to sponsor stuff like that, so that they could get it done also.
okay.
So it's
So are
kind of
those
cool.
permanent installations?
Some of them are, some of
Mm.
them are. The ones that are on those facilities, they will be. But some of the stuff that was discussed was where people could come out to different locations and learn how to do screen printing
Mm.
t-shirts, so that the kids could come out and learn how to do a new skill, take something home with them,
Oh, cool.
take the t-shirt home with them, come out. And one of the awesomest projects that I seen, I totally voted on. Well, we didn't vote, we kind of, which ones do you guys like, stuff like that, what I mean.
Hmm.
But there was one that had total community involvement, and it was going to be paint by number. So they were going to do this huge mural and then mark it off by the numbers, bring in the community, bring in the kids. Okay, this number is this color, this number is that color. Let's have some fun.
Nice.
So, community involvement, stuff like that was definitely at a high
Oh, I
scale.
love that.
I liked that one. That one was actually awesome because it was like, okay, and who's doing the design? Well, the kids are going to do the design. What? Yeah, they got the
Hmm.
school kids to do one of the designs. And it actually
Yeah.
came out pretty cool. It has to deal with it. It's good stuff.
Where is that piece?
I don't know where the permanent placement will be at yet,
Okay.
but it's
What
there. They're
what age were
searching
the
for a
kids?
place. Huh?
What age were the kids?
Seventh grade.
Seventh. Oh, okay, that's a little bit older. Yeah,
Seventh and eighth.
you can get some talent by that point.
Yeah.
But you
You're
and the
definitely
important
coloring in
thing,
the lines at that point, we hope.
yeah, at that point, you when you're dealing with kids and projects like that, a lot of it comes down to the guidance they get.
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
you have a good art teacher, they can get the results they're looking for.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
that's the thing is, if
Exactly.
you understand the capabilities of the kids and you can match that to their skills and the requirements. Otherwise, if you just go in there blind and have a bunch of kids, oh, just do a drawing of a train or something like that, guidance is important. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
That's true.
and definitely a plan to put that into effect. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Right.
and that
Exactly.
was that was one of the ones that was very much detailed, and we're putting it all the way down. So
That
How
sounds
long?
just awesome.
How
Yeah,
long
go
have you
ahead.
been involved in the light rail?
since the beginning,
Oh,
since
okay.
the
Oh,
beginning of the South Central extension,
And
oh
what's
so I'm
wow.
actually the vice chair on the light rail.
Oh,
hello, sir? Is there anything that really surprised you about the development of the light rail? Anything unexpected that's come from the light rail being a thing?
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be like the number one thing, or just anything you can think of that, and you can take a minute because I'm good at cutting out silence.
The most interesting part was honestly how it's all connected together. I got to take a tour of what they call the OLMC. So basically, it's Valley Metro's operations center.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I got to actually see how they changed the tires on a train. Well, the wheels on a train. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and
oh,
it's the facility over there is just it's nuts. It's like stuff like you would never think of. I mean, shout out to the guys over there at Valley Metro, because thinking of a two-phase floor this way you can energize and de-energize depending on what you're doing was
mhm.
awesome. They have 24-hour a day just eyes on everything to make sure that it's all connecting. If there's ever an issue, somebody's out there. I didn't expect all of that. What I expected was kind of like the bus route. You see the bus, if you're not at the bus stop, the bus goes right by you. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I
Right.
was expecting. I didn't expect like all of this planning behind the scenes to be actually in the development phases also, and how different sections throughout town actually connect. They all connect into one spot.
Mm-hmm.
So it was actually really cool just to see all of this come together and be able to be brought to the public and provide a whole nother way of transportation throughout the city.
And of course, the
So
public doesn't see all those operations. They
no,
just see a train that shows up, they get on it, and then they get off.
And the development behind it, the business grants program for the businesses that are along the alignment for during construction to help out this way, you know, they don't necessarily have to close doors or anything, kind of like a plan in place program. It's awesome. And then they have other programs there to help out, like say you're on the South Central alignment, you've been there for a while and you want to start growing your business, they'll help you grow your business too. So they had website designers, ad designers, stuff like that. This way they can keep the business owners that are along the alignment open. So they actually, it was kind of cool to see like some of the stuff like that had come about from the start, from the very first rail, right?
That's a really interesting point because it's a synergy between the businesses along the light rail and the light rail. If one is succeeding, the other can be more successful. So that was pretty clever.
And then the draw of traffic. I mean, you know, how do we bring more people to your area to see you?
Right.
And that's one of their main focuses. You know what I mean? How do we get the community out during construction? How do we get these people from other sides of town because they're coming for your services? How do we make your business still available? How do we make you more prevalent online during these times? You know what I mean? So that your business stays afloat, so that your shop stays afloat. Because when you come south of the river bottom, you're dealing with a lot of mom and pop. Let's just be honest. That's a lot of mom and pop. That's a lot of small business. There's not many major corporations along Central like downtown. You know what I mean? So you keep them open because those people right there, they built their family. They built into the community. They built over time. That's the way business should be. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. If you guys are corporations, franchises, and everything else, and you guys are big, understand you guys put in the work. I get it. But these people have been local for years. They're built into our community, and we want to see that stay within our community.
That's nice.
Because that is the community. That's what makes Phoenix.
Yeah.
That's why people come here.
We don't want to see some of the stuff go away, and the next thing you know, we have vacant buildings, and now you have people coming in and the area is getting worse, and then you know the building gets torn down and then it's a vacant lot, and you know that's just not the right way. At least on South Central, they've been doing the most that they can do. So
I haven't been down there to see it, but that sounds so interesting.
You should get out more.
I should get out more.
That's the key thing, I think, is moving people around the city and using the light rail to do that. You know, introducing them to different parts and different businesses and different events and different opportunities. I grew up in New York, but then I moved down to Washington or Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C., when I was like 12 or 13. And that was just when the D.C. Metro was getting off the ground and extending out into Maryland. And that was such an awesome thing as a 13-year-old to be able to jump on the Metro and go wherever I wanted to in D.C. I basically just went to the comic book store, but still, you know, there was no comic book store near me until the Metro opened up, and then there was suddenly.
And when I was living in Coronado, and the light rail was fairly new, and I was looking for a sewing machine, this particular sewing machine, and I called everywhere, and the one place that had it was in Mesa. And my favorite light rail trip was like getting on the train, like the little light rail. And I went all the way to Mesa. It was like the end of the line. And I walked across the street. I got my sewing machine. And I sat there on the train again, just cuddling my sewing machine. And I was so happy. And I would have gotten there because let's face it, driving to Mesa is not my favorite thing to do. And it was just such a delightful experience. I actually had lunch there. There was a little restaurant. I took my sewing machine, got back on the train. It was wonderful. And I never would have shopped there. So kudos.
Did you see the sewing machine like online and you just decided to go?
No, I was researching it. I was just like, where is it? And so I'd call around to these sewing machine stores. I wanted this little Singer. It was like kind of a commercial, but it was high end. So it was like within my budget. It was like this very small window. James is shaking his head. But it was like a little Singer commercial machine that I don't know. And they made it for a small window of time. And she had 2 left in the shop. And I was like, hold one, I'm coming. And I just got in the light rail, and I just thought that was so much fun. So,
Yeah, I have a
it
sewing machine
works.
too. And my sewing machine, I bought it about 20 years ago, and then it was 30 years old.
Oh,
And it's probably just as good as your sewing machine.
I
It's
know.
just
I
as
have,
good, gosh darn it.
gosh darn it, but you didn't have the story behind it.
So, Andrew, do you have a sewing machine?
Um, you know what? Yes,
Wow.
yes, we
Okay,
do.
we should
Okay,
start a
good.
sewing club then,
Yeah.
I guess.
We could do that.
Do I use it? That's a
Yeah,
whole nother story.
Hey,
But is it there?
there you
Yeah.
go.
that's exactly where I'm at. I got it. I think I used it twice. I think the best thing was the trip to get it on the light rail. So, and
Actually an awesome story though, just to go get the sewing machine. That's kind of
yeah,
cool.
but I never would have connected with that business.
I don't know. It also, I think, highlights the idea that just being able to, it's not like you're walking there, but you don't, not having to deal with a car
Exactly.
is so much more relaxing. You're basically a pedestrian, and you don't have to
Hmm.
worry about any of that stuff. And you can take your time. You don't have to worry about parking meters or whatever you might have to do. You have to run out and feed the meter every half an hour.
Exactly.
Or the $4 and some change per gallon gas either.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
Oh yeah,
Right.
foreign. Yeah, it was foreign change yesterday. I was shocked. I was shocked. But yeah, I read the entire autobiography of a yogi on the light rail because I had a job. I was working for a contract for a business which shall remain nameless, but I just would park my car at like the Christown
Mhm.
location and then get on. Then it would take me kind of toward Tempe because I just didn't want to drive there every day. So I got one of those monthly passes and I read the autobiography of Yogi. That was another very wonderful memory
While
of
I
my
was
light
living in
rail
New York,
days.
between college semesters, I was working in New York City, and I was living, with my parents north of the city. And I would take the train in every day, and I would basically sleep. Can't do that in a car. Well, I mean, I guess you can. It just it doesn't end as well.
It would not end
No,
as
it
well.
wouldn't. It
Yeah.
wouldn't end as well at all. It would end, but not well. It
I
would
love my
end
car.
not-
Don't get me wrong. I love cars, but mass transit is great too, especially trains. I love trains.
It is. Okay, so just I have a quick question about the light rail in terms of it just seems like it's such a honor system. I grew up in Chicago and we always had to go through those little terminals. And then I lived up in
Mhm.
the Bay Area for a while. And when you get on the BART, to
Mhm.
go back into into San Francisco, whatever, you had to go through little terminals. And it really blew me away here because it's such an honor system. Like you stand, you get your little ticket or you have your monthly pass, and then people just get on the train. How did that come to be?
I'm not even sure.
Okay. But
I'm not
but
sure.
but you
That's
get what I'm saying, right? I
Oh yeah,
mean,
yeah. I've taken the train too. I've jumped on it because I like parking rides.
uh-huh.
I can park in wherever I'm going back to,
Right.
train and take it throughout the city, go do what I got to do, like you were
Right.
saying, not be in a rush, and you know
Exactly.
we go back home in the afternoon too. So it's like but that part I don't know where it came from, but it's kind of cool now how that's policed and how that's like secured or whatever you want to call it when it comes
Hmm.
to the riders or the ride share. That's a question for Valley Metro that shoot, you just gave me a question to ask at the next light rail meeting.
Yeah,
Like,
because I
how
just
do you
didn't know.
what is this? And I will get you the answer and we'll bring it back to this
Okay,
next time
great.
I'm on the
No,
show.
great.
But it's like, how did you guys come to this honor system and where did this come from? And how in the world did you guys how do you guys monitor this?
Right. There's only been, I think maybe of all the times, and when I lived downtown, I definitely rode it a lot more. I'm up north, where I live, and just like, no, it's just not, even though the metro area one is on 19th Avenue is accessible to me, it's not something I do anymore. I think only maybe less than a handful of times, like maybe 3 times, and always on First Friday. And they would always check the passes,
Hmm.
kind of like when right before you get to the 7th Avenue stop, like when you
Right.
get off, like by Roosevelt, and I never saw them kick anyone off for not having one. I mean, it was pretty chill. And that just always, I thought it was like, on one hand, it was cool. And then I'm like, but is it cost effective? Like, how is this being supported? Are people abusing the privilege of this beautiful system? And I don't know. It's like I'm not much of a overseer, but I just was always a question I had.
That's one thing I haven't seen this year yet. And I know that, we've have gotten some rain this winter, but I haven't been seeing much of the first Fridays. Like usually you see like in the New
Yeah.
Times or in on some of the sites on Facebook or on Instagram, you see like, hey, first Fridays, Roosevelt Row, or And this year I haven't really seen any of that.
You're
Have you
right.
guys?
It's
No.
happening because my son's been going to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's 17 years old. He's got a bunch of friends now down in Tempe, and they all get together and go out for First Friday. And I was
Huh.
like, he's heading out on a Friday. I'm like, where are you going, Bob? And he's like, oh, it's First Friday. I was like, oh, right, I forgot it was First Friday. Yeah. So the kids know.
Right.
Us old folks don't know, but the kids know.
Yeah, because I noticed that the Phoenix Art Museum has stopped being a stop on First Friday.
Really, that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and they only do like events like several times a year. I think they had an event, wasn't it last week or something? Was that like Art Detour? I mean, they don't do a lot of
Was
press.
Art
I mean,
Detour last week?
I think it might have been
Oh
last
wow.
week. I know we're so out of the loop,
Yeah.
but not because I choose to be out of the loop. I don't think the advertising is there from ArtLink anymore. I don't think they're putting it out there.
I haven't been seeing much of the advertising either. Like,
No.
because if you guys remember, like 2 years ago when First Fridays would come out,
Mm-hmm.
they would do flyers. Like you would see them
Mm-hmm.
online. You'd see all the artwork. Um, so here goes a question for you guys, not to
Okay.
get off topic or anything.
No, it's not.
You guys know about Songbird, right? It's off of Roosevelt, right across
Mm-mm.
from. Well, they was an art gallery. Now it's a shared office space / art gallery, right? It
Okay.
has a coffee shop in it. It's right there by 7th Street in Roosevelt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Out of all of those, I guess you would call them galleries or sub galleries or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, because they do have office spaces upstairs, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. Out of all of those, what one is your guys' favorite?
I'm the wrong
Mm.
person to ask. I have never really connected with the art scene here in Phoenix, and I still kind of boggles my mind to this day that I haven't been able to make that connection. I go out once every couple of years, basically. We had a gallery. We actually had
Yeah.
a gallery 2 years ago.
I was telling him about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was I don't know. It just never clicked here in Phoenix. I have a hard time connecting with the art scene here. It's pretty diverse. I hate to say this, but even Houston had a more connected art scene, and that was not a good connected art scene.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have an underdeveloped art scene here.
I think we absolutely do have an underdeveloped art scene, and I do have some favorites. And one of them, it used to be on Roosevelt Row, and then with some of the construction, it moved. It was 515. I believe they're in Grand now. 515.
Right there by
Love it.
Napadona.
Yeah, right, right. And then the original Mon Orchid, before like now they're doing weddings. I mean, Mon Orchid was just an amazing space when they first opened it up, and there were
Where
a
was
couple
that
art.
one at?
It's like right it's on Roosevelt. Maybe what is this? It was like Roosevelt and like Fifth, and then they made offices in there. It's a 2-story building. Did they change the name to what
Is
you're?
that the white building with the black birds painted on the side of it?
Maybe there's Blackbird. It's been a while since I've been down there.
That was the one I was talking about. That was a
Songbird, you said?
Songbird. It has like a coffee shop, and then it had an art.
Yeah, there's
gallery.
a coffee shop. There's an art gallery. It's a big space inside. It looks
Yep.
like a big, yeah. That probably for spaces, I think is probably the best space downtown.
And just to finish up, Andrew, I want to shoot one more question to you. From a
Okay.
realtor standpoint, do you see interest in people buying houses near the light rail?
Yes,
And is
all the
that
time.
okay?
Because the light rail can be seen as so many things, but a lot of the people that are currently purchasing homes and stuff around the light rail stops, the areas that they're in, they use it more as an amenity. We can get from place A to B. Like I know so many people that have purchased homes throughout the light rail, like close to the light rail, just so they can use the light rail. And then all of a sudden date night turns into something totally different because we don't have to use the car. We don't have to we can walk
Right.
over, take the train, jump on the train, go to wherever we want to go eat, have a couple of drinks. There's no drinking. There's no drunk driving on a train, right? If you have a
Right.
couple of them, you're coming back home, somebody else is driving you. So, take the if out of the equation. So they use it for that. There's so many of them, people that have children that, or not, I shouldn't say children, they're now young adults, but with the growth of ASU, NAU, and U of A all downtown, it becomes a form of transportation to get the kids back and forth to school.
Right.
Like, okay, we're gonna purchase a home over here, and it's close for you to go downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is major campuses down there. It is like 5-10 minutes away from most of them. If not, schedule your time, jump on and go. There's that. I mean, there's just, you have availability to so much more over there. I even know people that just like in the mornings they jump on them and they go to the gym and then they take it back because you're not dealing with rush hour traffic. It takes,
Right.
everybody waits for the train,
Right. Traffic waits
Mhm.
for the train.
traffic waits
Traffic
for the
waits for the
train.
train.
The bigger the animals, the higher in the food chain you are. And that's a pretty big one. Traffic waits for the train.
How far does the light rail adjacent in terms of a commodity or like an amenity you said for like a neighborhood or selling a house or having property values, how far does that go out?
You see it all the time on the listings.
Hmm.
Closeness to light rail, closeness to commute.
So
You see
closeness equals like less than a mile, less than 5 miles.
basically walking distance.
Okay.
You'll see it sometimes if you have if you look at any of the condo complexes downtown or whatever, it says like half a mile walking distance, or they'll start giving you like the distance it is to the station to where your next stop is
Okay.
to,
Oh yeah.
local eateries, stuff like that, local small
Okay.
businesses, how far it is out. And
Hmm.
then if you're thinking on the light rail itself, the train really doesn't go through any area that doesn't have businesses around it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
you're not, if you're taking the train to go see something, I mean, look what's there in the area.
Right.
You can pretty much get to everything. You can
Right.
see everything because you're not going off track here.
And you can always get off.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, that looks cool. I think I'll stop here for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And it's nice too because then you could be like, well, I got off. I'm just going to jump back on and keep going.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the trains run every 15 minutes. So
Yeah, they're seamless. It's great when you use it.
I'm gonna
It
run
is.
into Zia real quick. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm gonna jump back on the train and
Right.
Coffee
I'm
break.
on my way.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we'll have you on again. You can talk about any expansion news or if you have any additional
Well,
stuff or whatever you want to talk about.
the
This has been fun.
expansion news will not come until after this one is done because they will not tell us anything about any new
Oh
expansion like
gosh.
that until they get done with whatever they're doing. There's a
Oh,
whole
so it's
research
years. So it's
process.
Yeah.
years.
It's
Um,
obviously a slow process. But Andrew, thanks for being on, and
Yeah,
I will.
thanks so much.
I'll do my homework. I'll see if I can find any photography vampires for you.
so hold on, we have to come up with a term for that real quick because
We don't
there
do
has
things.
to be a
We don't do
legal
things
term
quickly
for that.
here. We either do them badly or slowly. Oh no, we do them both badly and slowly. Yes. Okay, that's the.
A photography vampire?
There has to be a term. If you guys are online right now and you guys are watching this, help us out here. Kind of give us some ideas what we could call a photo vampire. We know that they don't exist during the day, but if you guys could, or if you guys know one of them, please let it.
Oh yeah,
We'd love to
Yeah,
interview them. Send us a
that's
photo
what we need.
vampire invite.